Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, we have an absolutely outstanding show for you today. Listen, we're talking Starfield. I mean, listen, I know that a lot of people are like, my God, Boom, kind of like 3 shows in a row and last week. And let me tell you something. If you're not talking about Starfield, I'm going to tell you this right now. No offense. I don't necessarily know if you're an Xbox fan. This is the biggest game for this platform since Halo 3. And Steele and I were just talking in the green room, and there are a couple of some finite points that he made. Gears 2 is a big one. Gears 3, you got a couple of Forzas in there. But when you consider how important this particular franchise is to Todd Howard and Bethesda, and understand that this is the first new IP in over 2.5 decades, I cannot begin to tell you how exciting it is for Xbox fans. And like I said, if you look on the other side, or you look on the other person's lawn, and you take and you say, well, Sony over there, the grass is pretty green. Nintendo over there, it's pretty green grass. They have had these exciting moments. Sony has had quite a few of them. And Xbox has unfortunately been towed behind, or been, kind of behind a little bit. And something's happening, some magic is starting to happen for Xbox, its platform, its leaders, and more importantly, its gamers. And it was, originally supposed to start with Redfall, and that didn't hit. Obviously, but right before Redfall, we had a very special thing in Hi-Fi Rush, which, by the way, has announced today that they have crossed over 3 million players, and that is a big deal. That is a really, really big deal. But there's something going to happen on the release of this game. This is going to be the outlier to changing minds and opinions about the color green and its platform. So before we get into breaking all of what we learned yesterday during the developer Q&A, I want to introduce not a friend, a brother. Steel Rain, welcome, my brother. How the heck are you?
Mr. BoomStick XL, what's going on? And it's always great to be back in the building. Yes, it is I, and I am him, the one and only Steel Rain, and one half of Living Split Screen. A little non-console centric platform that we do every Saturday morning. And man, Boom, it's been all right, man. Life's all right. Getting some gaming in. Gotta jump back into Forza Horizon just to make sure that I'm a little bit practiced up, because I haven't played on Motorsport since 5. So I want to just make sure I hone in on my skills a bit, although it will be quite different. And getting through Atlas Fallen, man, that's another one. I think at least again, I've been telling people, if you like to Darksiders, I definitely suggest to check out Atlas Fallen. And if not, wait until it gets into your favorite service, or until it's on sale. So, but other than that, yeah, man, just knocking out these games, getting that hype built up for Armored Core 6, the true game of the year. No, but and building up an anticipation for Starfield, man. So glad to be here today. You sent that signal into the background. I saw it and was like, you know what, Boom, of course I got to be locked in with my brother. So thank you for having me, and I'm excited to get into this conversation today, man.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you a part of today's show. But listen, before we move forward, folks, I got to stop the show for a hot second. I don't ask for much, right? And the one thing that you'll learn about me as a content creator is I'll never ask you for anything outside of you hitting the like button and potentially subscribing to kind of move the channel along. I normally don't ask, and it's not because I'm too proud to ask, because my father taught me many things. And he always, one of the important lessons was never be afraid to ask for help. So I'm going to do something that I have done for many podcasts, and I'm proud that I'm one of the few that actually does this.
Oh, okay.
Steel Rain and Pong Soul have an absolutely astounding Saturday morning show each and every week, 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings, called Living Split Screen. Now, I've said this before, and I really want to drive the point home. There is something incredibly important about watching the work that you do hit certain milestones, see certain
Absolutely.
points in your content creation career. And one of those points is getting partnered with YouTube. How you do
Mhm.
that is by having 4,000 plus watch hours, and of
Got
course,
that.
hitting 1,000 subscribers. And as of this morning, Living Split Screen is 43 away. We have 300 people here. I'm asking as a friend, as someone that I hope that you trust, that you come here each and every day and you listen to my rhetoric. You know, like that Boomstick guy would never steer me wrong, because I would never tell you to listen to something that I personally don't listen to and tune in almost every Saturday morning while I'm cooking breakfast for me and Mrs. Boom after our hikes. I'm gonna drop the link in there, and I'm gonna ask as a friend to everyone that's here now. Let's live on the air right now. Get Living Split Screen past 1K.
Oh,
That's my ask.
that'll be beautiful, Boom, and I greatly appreciate that. Heartfelt.
It's well deserved, because you and Pong work really hard. You get out there. You don't you give it straight, and
Absolutely.
you're fair with the
What's done?
content, and it's fun to listen to. Folks, listen, we're going to get to Starfield, 70 plus minutes of Starfield talk, but I'm asking you as a friend, live on the air right now, go click on that and please subscribe to get these incredible content creators past 1K live on the air. Like I said, I've done it for many other shows. I'm proud to have an audience that believes in me personally. That if I tell you, or I ask you, if I ask you to do me a favor and subscribe, you're going to listen and be like, you know what, Boom, you were right. That's a pair of really good dudes. I got another podcast to listen to. So if you don't mind, while the show is going, I'm going to go back and forth and check, and hopefully 43 people will get them past 1K live on the air. Okay, so let's start the show. Let's get into Starfield.
Appreciate that.
As of this morning, we have it on good authority that review codes are officially out. And last night, before I went to sleep, Jez Corden, and who doesn't love Jez? I mean, obviously he's a great member of the community. He did the one chip challenge. Like he's a man of his word.
Yeah, he
And
is.
what's not to like? He's British, right? Right. So what's not to like about Jez? Well, he posted some ominous tweets, and I knew exactly what he's talking about. And he simply wrote, "Oh my God." And I knew he was playing. I knew he downloaded and he started playing Starfield. And how I know that is because Ryan McCaffrey put a tweet out there. So shout out to Ryan over at IGN. Even though he's not doing the review, he's going to be playing. I would imagine that ACG and Skill Up, I think they already have their codes. Again, I don't know for sure. We saw Jeff Grubb, very good friend, great friend of the community, great friend of this program. He got his code. Who else am I missing? Tom Warren, good friend of this program, great friend of the community. Tom Warren is also reviewing it as you would expect that he would from The Verge. And Steel, I mean, I if I smile anymore, I'm going to break my face. Like, I am so freaking excited as an Bethesda fan, as an Xbox fan. We have content. We obviously we're content creators, folks.
Right.
I will be honest with you. I have not gotten a code. I don't necessarily think I'm going to get one. The channel is way too small. I know people at Microsoft, but there's only so many codes they could hand out. I'll be playing on the 1st, it appears, or the 31st, because I'm staying up at midnight. I'm going to do something I haven't done in a long time, and I'm probably going to play to like the wee hours in the morning. I don't even care if I look like a zombie, but I'm playing this game. Steel. Let's Paris Lily. Let's see. That was Gerald Max. Has Paris Lily got it? Well, of course, Paris Lily. How would Paris Lily and the XCast not get a code? Of course, they're going to get a code. I would imagine Danny Pena, amazing podcaster, is going to get his as well. Listen, all I can say is I'm not a hater. I'm a congratulator. If you are out there and you got a code, that means that you are on that Rolodex that I am currently not, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. Play the shit out of this. Let's go have fun. Go into the Starfield. So before we get into what happened yesterday with the Q&A, a lot of questions were answered. We got an incredible amount of information from Darius on Twitter, as well as Clobriel. We're going to break that down of what you can do in this game, folks. It's going to be epic. It's a life stealer. What are you starting to feel the excitement building now that it's in the hands of reviewers? Steel.
Am I feeling that excitement? I am, because it's one of those things to where you want Bethesda to be kind of treated properly this time, right? And not have to live down that Bethesda name, right? Because that's the biggest fear that I feel a lot of people have that were going into this. I don't want to say necessarily fear, but that's more of a stigma that Bethesda has going against them because of previous history. Now, fortunately, unfortunately for them, they had the ability to be acquired by Microsoft, which, as we're seeing, and we're getting more information to the fact that has allowed them, Bethesda, to put in a little bit more work, or a lot more work, depending on your perspective, on their key titles. Now, I say that, and then somebody's going to be like, well, look at Redfall. What happened with that? Well, every now and then you drop a slice of cheese on the floor, right? It happens. I'm not telling you should pick up that slice of cheese and still use it, but, some people do, right? But nonetheless, you call that for what it is, and even Arcane wasn't completely satisfied with that. But we also, because the whole picture to that is Arcane was coming from the perspective of a developer that was under some duress, some stress, to create something that was going to help bring in some money before they ever got acquired. So they pulled away from their roots, and you saw what we got from that when they did. This is completely, this is kind of I'm not gonna say it's completely the same, but there's a lot of those same key factors that are getting pulled into Starfield. I think because Todd and Phil do have a good relationship that has spanned the concept of time, per se. They've both been in the industry longer than a couple decades. I'm pretty sure they've had some meaningful conversation, but I'm pretty sure because we've been hearing from Todd that, hey, this is a game that I've had in mind for the last few decades, right? And we just haven't had the hardware to make it possible, but I've always had it there. And then to see this game get put into production, they've been working on it. And I know that Sony was knocking on their door, and then you see Xbox get the acquisition, and then you see the date that gets put into stone, and you're like, all right, we're ready. And then they say, no, we need to delay. And I think right then, although it might have been disappointing for quite a lot of people, I think that was the key note to say that, hey, this isn't Bethesda anymore. This isn't we need to rush out a game because we don't have anything behind us to help sustain our company. No, this is a passionate development team that obviously wanted to do some additional things and asked for the time, or you have an Xbox that was understanding, because as we know, the rumor is that they sent their A team to go help out and make sure that they were on top of everything for Starfield.
Indeed.
So apparently Xbox is treating it like it's a big deal, especially compared to Redfall, where Phil Spencer himself has admitted that they got to Redfall too late because Starfield was the priority. You're starting to see a lot of these things shift. And now we're getting a 2-week review period before the game goes into early access.
Mm-hmm.
for me, that is an extremely powerful thing because this doesn't typically happen, especially
No.
nowadays. We just came off of a last week, just as a comparison, of people asking, why isn't the game called Gold? Oh man, demo. There's no demo of Starfield at Gamescom. We should be worried. Bethesda's doing the same thing they've always done. It's going to be a buggy game. Oh man, Xbox can't get nothing right. And then this week, you get the 2-week review period that we're hearing about, and all these different people that you would trust, a review from, like my guy ACG. Shout out to Jeremy. He's dope dude. One of the
that
key
is a
people for
good
reviews.
dude right there. Tells
So
it like it is and wears it on his sleeve.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see what his review, because again, reviews are just supposed to be that. It's a review of what that person played. And you should be able to take that for what it is and compare it to how you feel about games and make your own decision. But this is an extremely powerful thing. And I think Bethesda and Xbox have put themselves in a really powerful position because there's no excuse. There's no excuse to say, oh, well, there's a day one patch, or I didn't get enough time. Oh, I ran into some problems. I was only able to play for 10 hours. No, you've had the game for 2 weeks. Review the game. Put whatever amount of time that you feel like
it's going to be, isn't it going to be like 3 weeks before the official? Almost.
Yes.
Remember, the early access is midnight the 31st, but technically the game doesn't launch until the 5th.
Exactly. So not only that, so off the heels of the reviews that you're going to get on the 31st, you're also going to get all these people who are now watching those reviews, giving their opinion on those reviews, then jumping into that game that very same day and giving you their opinion, and we can all see it live action to see if everything lines up. This is such a powerful opportunity, and I do agree with you, Boom, that as far as hype and anticipation and the power of that this IP has, especially being brand new, this is a Halo 2 moment per se, right? And this is, when you say that, that's also that's something that you got to kind of put in the concept, because Halo and all has more than just story. There's multiplayer, there's other facets. You got people getting together, and that was really the excitement about it. It was a new thing, and it was really being popular on console. Where this time around, this is a solo single player experience, true Western RPG that a lot of people thought that maybe we're falling off a little bit because we don't get polished RPGs like we used to in some facets. Even Witcher 3 came out with a lot of problems that people complained about for a long time before those things got fixed. And that's still a 9 out of 10 game from a lot of people. So it's going to be interesting to see where Starfield kind of falls in line. For me, again, as the Bethesda noob, I only have the experience with Elder Scrolls Online and watching my wife pretty much play the full completion of Fallout New Vegas. I understand what those games are, and coming off the heels of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which was my true first chance of jumping into that game, I'm looking for something that I can create my own character, create my, this is going a step further because now I get to pick my history, how I grow up, how I want to approach this game, some of those cyberpunk elements that we got also. Hey, how do I want to approach this? Do I want to be the cybernetist where I'm dealing with robots? Do I want to be the bounty hunter where I'm just chasing fools down? Do I want to be the engineer where I'm more so focused on my ship being huge and I got blasters all over, the lasers going crazy? It's going to be, I just want something that's really going to intrinsically pull me into its universe the way that Mass Effect did. Because it's very rare for many single player games to give you the ropes. And I know Mass Effect's more on rails, much more on rails than Starfield is going to be, much more on rails than most Bethesda games are. But even with that, the decision making, the way that you're going to be able to impact the game, it being a space odyssey, like a true space odyssey. I'm not talking about an unfinished game in Star Citizen that people have been comparing this game to. I'm not talking about No Man's Sky that took almost a decade to fix all of its problems to be what it is today. That's my problem with those comparisons. You're comparing games that needed time to become what they are today. Starfield is going to be what it is day one. day zero. And people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. And I'm excited to see where this kind of puts Bethesda in this new era of gaming, or like my brother from another says, this golden age of gaming.
Golden age of gaming, indeed it is. Listen, folks, let me get some super chats, and I'm going to read some of the big hot takes from the Q&A. And I got to tell you, if I said it before, this game's a life stealer. It's going to be probably one of the main things I play for the remainder of the year. Like there are so many big games coming out that I'm like Spider-Man. You folks know how I feel about the Web Slinger, and specifically the Simonite saga. I'll say this, and I want to take a minute just to go and do a quick check, like I promised you I would. Hold on just a second. Fine, I'll get back to them. I'm going to do a quick check for Living Split Screen. Let's see where they are. Let's see. 997 folks.
Ooh!
Yeah, three away.
Oh, gosh.
We have almost 500 people here. I just dropped the link in. Do me a solid, folks. Sub the channel. I guarantee you're going to enjoy the content so much. You're going to DM me or you're going to hit me up on Twitter and be like, boom, you were right. I love the content. Live on the air. We need 3 subs to get them to 1K. Live on the air, folks. Do me the solid. You love me like I love you. Do me the solid. It's going to pass 1K right now because obviously this is a long time coming and they deserve it. They two of my favorite creators, man. Honestly, and I'd love to see it happen live on the air, and it would be a big deal. We are 1 away. It's 999, folks. We are 1 sub. I'm gonna refresh. I'm gonna refresh right now, live on the air, folks. 1K subs.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people, y'all are amazing. Getting the Living Split Screen to 1K. Oh,
thank
Lord.
you. I got goosebumps.
Goosebumps, folks. You guys are wild. Boom. Again, I gotta. That's crazy.
Honor, it is my honor.
I didn't think it was actually going to happen. I was just, I've been just got to grab life by the horse sometimes, right? And again, I greatly appreciate everything that you've done.
Well deserved, my friend.
Again, and greatly appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. And like I say all the time, only stay subbed if you guys really support what we got going on there over there. More content's coming. Live streams are coming. And again, we host a really long show every Saturday morning, typically 4 to 5 hours. But
hey, Steele, just take over for a hot second. I got to take this call.
I got you, boom. But yeah, we got timestamps over there. We're trying to be really consistent. But yeah, shout out to you guys for really helping us push over that 1K. That's an amazing thing to see. Got some beautiful things working around in the background, especially after that. So it's amazing, guys. I really appreciate you all for getting us there. It's a grind, man. It's what it's about. And I definitely appreciate it, man. Damn, I was not expecting to hit it that quick. That was crazy. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Starfield is probably going to be part of that 1K grind that we've been talking about. We're currently getting some things worked off in the background to maybe do a living split screen kind of thing, where you get one side of Pong, you get my side, get Starfield gameplay day 0. So be on the lookout for that. And again, much shout out to everybody who's tuning in and enjoys Boom and all the content that he's bringing in. I'll forever be grateful to what Boom has brought to our community. He's definitely a pillar, the same way that I feel about the community. You guys are a pillar too, right? You got to see through the mess. You got to know who you are as a gamer, as a person. And again, getting to 1K because of you guys, it's a best representation of what we look for in this community, right? We want to build up a community of people, a foundation of people that when we start reaching out to these 3 billion gamers that we always hint at, that Phil has talked about, that they have something that's welcoming to come into, right? There's many different facets of our community, right? Some nasty, some nice, and some in between. But I feel like this is definitely, the more we can expand this out, the more we can grow our people and help everybody get to where they need to be at. The only way we'll
Yes.
grow is if we support each other. So I appreciate y'all, and I
Well,
appreciate
no,
you, Boom.
listen,
Absolutely.
it's well deserved. You guys have a ton of episodes. You're there each and every week, unless sometimes life gets in the way. You have equipment problems and you have to cancel the show or two. But for the most part, you guys are there. You and Pong work really good together. Trust me when I tell you, folks, this is going to be the next show that you add to your playlist. I listen to him every Saturday without fail, along with Keasante. Which we're waiting for the team up. There's going to be hopefully a crossover event.
We've been working on that in the background too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Maybe one weekend do it on one channel, weekend do it the other channel, or do it half and half. Make a 3-hour show, do like a buck, like 90 minutes on one channel, 90 minutes on the other. I don't know. But listen, folks, I can't thank you enough. Honestly, it makes me very happy to see that I have an audience that trusts me. Because again, I would never ask you to do something or listen to something that I personally don't listen to myself, because then I would be a fraud. But we're going to reel this back in because we're going to get into Starfield, because that's what you're here for. And of course, there are two people I want to shout out. First of all, Clobriel, which I think everybody knows Clobriel. He is an amazing creator in his own right. He's constantly and consistently out here giving us information about Xbox. And we love him for it. But there's a new cat that has made the rounds on social media that I follow. He follows me, and he did what I think is probably one of the best posts I've seen in a very long time. It's Darius Fears. It's at the real D Fay, it's FEA. He basically did a thread where he says this was the Starfield Q&A, and here are all, if not everything, of the Q&A or the questions and answers from the developers of Starfield. Now, it's very lengthy. What I'm going to do, I mean, like I said, I'm going to use some of it, but Clobriel's is more condensed, and because obviously this is a live show and it's more short form, it's going to work better for the conversation. But I wanted to give both shout outs because both posts are incredible. So, Steele, I want to read some of the things that Clobriel had to say about new revelations, if you will, of what to expect from Starfield. And he says there are housing in all major cities where the player can get and own. Some you have to purchase, and some are rewards for very specific quests. He goes on to say, if you commit a crime, you can elect to go to jail or pay a fine when you are arrested, or even resist arrest and try to escape. There's civilizations, there's government, and there are actual laws. Certain items are considered contraband, and you'll need to smuggle them past security ships that are in orbit of all major settlements. You can hide them using special ship modules. He goes on to say, all of the playable factions can be completed, check this out, folks, independently. So you can go around, join a faction, complete it, and then go somewhere else. That is bonkers. He goes on to say there are over 20 named characters who can join your crew. 20. All of these have their own backgrounds, strengths, weaknesses, and story. It goes on to say that companions will have a huge role in the game, part of the main story. And why this is important is because they didn't specifically say who it was. They're excited to see people's reactions to some of the voice actors that they got for these parts. That has me, my mind is racing like, oh my God, are you going to get like a Tom Cruise or somebody in there? Because I mean, I'm just saying, I know you're shooting for the stars, but it is Starfield. So I'm going to bring up Darius Fears in a second. Let's try and, I mean, it's a lot to break down. Let's start with having your own places, your own homes in different parts of the galaxy. Does that get you excited, Steele?
That does get me excited because I am one of those people, like when I do travel to the different planets and whatnot. It's kind of the thing that got me really caught up in No Man's Sky when I started playing it. And I almost put about 100 hours into that game, which was crazy because I wasn't expecting to do that. But you in No Man's Sky, you get to go into the different planets and build your base up. In here, it makes it seem much more refined and meaningful, because it's like you're gonna have a house in cities that actually exist and feel lived in and feel like you could just become a part of, right? So it's more natural, in lack of a better term, or organic in many ways, because it kind of gives you a reason to go back to those planets potentially, or maybe you have storage there, or maybe you have some friends that you end up meeting there. Say that's funny to say in game, but that is that's the angle that Bethesda has always kind of gone for, where the people around you and what's going on within your world, and your playthrough really feels akin to some form of reality, right? Or their version of reality, the storytelling that they're trying to get you to a part of. So to hear that I can have a house in multiple different cities on different worlds, that gets me really excited. Just gives me a reason to come back, right? Which is always, that can be a problem in some games because, again, like in No Man's Sky, I find myself not really having a true reason to come back outside of maybe storage, or maybe I don't build a base because there's so many different worlds. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'll be more picky. So this means it seems like it's more meaningful, and I'm excited about that. So
Yeah, for me personally, I'm gonna probably try to, like, all the major settlements have a place. I
mhm.
don't know if I'm gonna get back to it. I mean, because again, I'm going in. Like, I'm getting in my ship. And one of the things that I think, and I don't remember last night who mentioned it, but from what is being told, Steel, is that we know about the planets. We know about the locations that you're going to come across by jetpacking here, there, and everywhere. We know that you're going to find abandoned, uh, you know, uh, locations, whether they were smuggler locations, whether they're been taken over by alien creatures that you'll find and you'll have to fight or get out of there. But I think what people have not talked about is what you're going to find in space.
Mhm.
And when you're off planet and you're just flying around, you're going to come across stuff that they're putting there. Now, whether it's actually there, a part of the story, or it's side stuff, it is going to be like for me, as someone who likes big maps, who likes limitless things to do, who doesn't necessarily always follow the story. I cannot wait to explore Starfield. So I want to pull up something that I want to read this. The 20 named characters
Mhm.
is something I kind of want to touch on for a second, because if there's anything that a Bethesda gamer, a fan of the work that they have done over the course of their history, will remember, is there are usually very memorable characters that you can get to be in your party. And some of them are, some of them are better than others, sure.
Mhm.
Some of them are more relevant to you as a player of your style. If you're more of an action guy, you're going to get two people in there that are going to back you up, or that are going to be action oriented, like I had in, like, let's say Fallout 3, right? When you have one person in your party. I don't necessarily know how many people you can have in your party. If anyone knows, just drop it in and I'll give you a shout out. I don't know whether it's two or it's three, because obviously Obsidian did it a different way with the Outer Worlds, where you had yourself and two people in your party. I'm pretty sure Bethesda games have always been one, if I'm not mistaken. And I haven't played a Bethesda game in a hot minute. Last thing I played was Fallout 4, and I finished it, and
Mhm.
it didn't bring me back like 3 did, for a lot of
That's
reasons.
fair.
Uh, let's talk about the 20 named characters, because these named characters are going to be voiced potentially by other major voice actors in the community. and they're gonna play a huge part. And when they say over 20, what does that
Mhm.
actually mean? Is it 21? Is it 23? Is it 27? The fact that the fact that, and I think this is where we get to the exciting part of Starfield. As gamers, right? I mean, none of us are in the office around the water cooler like we used to 25 years ago. Forget it, folks. I'm old. Sorry. Um, but the stories that we're gonna tell each other, I think, has me the most excited,
Mhm.
because no story is going to be the same. Like, yes, we're playing Starfield. Yes, there's a start, there's a middle, potentially there's an ending, right? And we're going to go through the story, which, by the way, some MFs have leaked. Stay away from the leaks if you don't want to be ruined. I think I think the game is too big to be ruined, to be honest with you. But yeah, be careful, folks.
Yeah, and a lot of those people who say they got quote unquote leaks are just making dumb stuff up. Like,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, if anybody is leaking the game, definitely be watch out. I mean, a lot of times you could tell within the first couple words, but outside of that, they're literally just making stuff up for cloud. So you guys just be careful out there.
Yes, I absolutely. But let's get your take on this, because if there are that many named characters, that tells me that they are significant enough to be a part of the story in some way, right? They're gonna have they're gonna have an origin of sorts. They're gonna have they're potentially gonna need help in doing something that you're going to gain their trust or their loyalty. Um, let's get your take on this, dude, because you might find a pair of characters that I may never find. You might
Potentially.
be like, "Hey, boom, I got characters." I'm like, "What? Like,
Yeah, potentially.
where'd you find that character? Oh yeah, I was on this planet over here.
Mhm.
Holy, I gotta go now. I gotta go searching. Now I gotta go find this character. It is, to me anyway, folks. I'm a big nerd. I'm sorry. I am just so
Not
excited
at
for
all, okay.
this. I'm going to lose myself in this game like I haven't done in a very, very long
Mhm.
time. Um, I'm
It's the
probably
plan.
gonna be. I'm probably gonna. I'm never gonna be playing while I'm doing the podcast because I got to pay attention. But let's get your hot take on these. So, on the confirmed 20 plus named characters.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about, right? Because when I was making those comparisons to Mass Effect earlier, and that's one thing that everybody can try to kind of draw their experiences to. Hey, who was your favorite to have on your team? Because even Mass Effect had about what 8+ people that you could choose from to have on your team at any given time, right? That kind of expanded out. Some people were taken away depending on some of the choices you make as you go through your experience. So to have it open, I kind of think about that and then opening it up to 20 more possible characters that could be part of your journey. Now, per my understanding too, I think even though you could have that many people, that not everybody's going to have that level of depth that you may look for, or that we have experienced in like a Mass Effect, where you kind of go through, everybody has a story arc, everybody you come to understand, and you overall over the time of your first playthrough, especially in Mass Effect 1, you have an idea of some of the people that you like in this story, or some of the experiences that you've had with these people. And then you go into 2 and you're like, oh yeah, I want this guy here, this guy here. Oh man, I get to meet this guy again. Great. I need him on my team. So to kind of take that concept into Starfield, if it is all 20 that we're able to have that type of relationship with, that would be dope. But again, I think that's kind of outside the expectation. Because it might boil down to like a core group of 10 people that you can really have that type of relationship with. But either way, it adds another layer of care to your playthrough, right? Where you'll want people around, where you're going to be really picky and choosy, or you're going to be scoping out everybody that you run into. Because if that's the other thing that I want to also see, is the 20 people limited to certain individuals that you're going to meet within this universe, or can it be I'm not necessarily going to say anybody per se, because that'd be a little wild, and I don't know if we're that far into the gaming universe yet. But how much of a choice are we going to have over these people? Is it going to be like you said, Boom? Hey, I got such and such, and you're like, oh, I never met that dude. I never even went down that story path to find who that is, and in my 100 hours of playtime. And I think that is the thing that Paul mentions to me all the time about like Skyrim, where he's like, hey, I had this dude that ran across me and he like gave me some armor, then he ran away real fast. I didn't know what was going on, and I was confused. And to come to find out later, he got killed. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then you talk to other people and they're like, nah, I didn't quite have that experience. Oh, yeah, I experienced that on my third playthrough. So it's like there's a lot of variances in there, which is extremely interesting also. I don't know how they're going to end up making that work, how much they're going to make you really care about your crew, whether it is just people that are slapped together. And I say slapped together very loosely because I also, from the information that we got from that Q&A that they did, apparently the people that you have a part of your space crew or people that you have on your team actually end up giving you an additional perks. So if there's like things that you as a character are lacking, you can find these other characters that could kind of fill in those areas for you and still give you those perks. So like if you're not really like for you, Boom, you're not going to be the smuggler, for an example. You're going to be the good guy. But what if you run into a good weapon and you got to smuggle it in, and these people really they won't approve of you having this weapon, Boom. But you're like, man, I really worked hard for it, and I killed this bad guy for it.
I'm gonna have to be a smuggler for a hot second.
And for a hot second, that's all I'm saying. You got somebody, you might have to tap Pete, who's been out on flight deck, and say, hey, Pete, I kind of need that perk for you to let me slide by these defenses real quick, man. Get past the scanner. Yeah, man, that's gonna be really dope to see, and I'm really interested to see where different people kind of take it and what their experience is with that. So
Yeah, it's I think the conversation surrounding this game, like 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 hours in is going to be so different. And I can see this becoming like one of the number one streaming games across. Like I'm not a Twitch
possibly,
guy. Like
yeah.
it's just not my thing. I kind of like I'm gonna put my Starfield headphones on like a big old nerd and listen to the audio and just kind of get lost in myself. And that's how I like playing the game. That's why like a lot of Sony's games, even though they don't appeal to like a lot of people, like especially on the Xbox side, they appeal to me because I'm more of a story person. Like I really care about the characters that I'm playing. I'm going to and obviously, like you can design your character. This is probably one of the few games that like I'm literally going to take I don't care if it takes like 3 hours design my character. I want my character to look and feel just like myself. I want to be literally using this like I would be like a figure, like I was a kid playing in the sandbox. That's what I want, and that's how important this game is for me personally because I love these big games. I'm a diehard Bethesda fan, but you know what? I want to bring up a question that was question 3 of this developer Q&A, and this is very interesting because I see a lot of talk of, hey, Boom, what if I'm not a Bethesda guy? Am I going to be lost? Am I going to know what to do? Am I going to enjoy the game? Check this out. Now, this is the third question. It says, for those of us who have never played a BGS game, which of course is Bethesda Game Studios for short, and we'll be starting with Starfield, what information should we know that will make the experience more impactful right from the start? How deep should you go into creating our character's background before we start the game? So here's the answers, folks. They go, well, we always make our games for fans both old and new. So you can jump in without ever having played a Bethesda title before. And the second answer, Steele, is there's a trait and background system that will let you specify more about yourself, but you can also select an anonymous background and have no traits if you want.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's a phenomenal question, and it's even a bigger pointed answer that no, you don't have to be a Bethesda game. This could logistically be your first Bethesda game, and for a lot of people, it probably is going to be. So let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. Oh, so the smuggling one is pretty interesting. Um, how will the smuggling cargo system work? Can we hide it somewhere on the ship and sell it for more currency
Mm,
later?
this is a good
And they
one.
go on to say, Steel, yes, you can hide them using special ship modules
Mm,
that you can purchase. You can, so you know so you know you don't get caught with those harvested organs or whatever else that you're smuggling, which is the fact that that's even in there is just crazy. It's
yeah, it's
just
wild.
crazy. It is a lot. Let's see. So okay, so they ask about the traits. Depending on traits selected during character creation, which is why this is incredibly important, folks.
Right.
I can't guarantee. So I'm sorry, I lost. Okay, depending on the traits selected during character creation, it will at all be possible to play through the game in a pacifist mode, i.e.,
Hmm.
without killing anyone or even potentially anything. And they ask, and the answer is, I can't guarantee every mission can be completed in pacifist mode, but we do have a co-pile of systems that will help. Answer two. So we talked about this very early on during pre-production, whether or not we would fully support a non-lethal playthrough, and we realized that for various reasons that wasn't totally feasible. So you could probably get away a certain aspect of the game,
Hmm.
not in pacifist mode, and I depending if you level up certain traits, you'd be able to kind of talk your way out of everything. But I think that what that answers to me is no, that you can't run through this game without killing anybody. And I'm going to be honest with you, that to me doesn't make any sense. Like I'm not saying you should go on a murder spree and everyone like for instance, Pong Soul is stealing everything that's not nailed down, and he's going to bring a hammer with a big
Yep.
hook so he can get that nail out. That's just what Pong Soul is going to do. Does that bother you? Because I don't. It doesn't bother me because I would never play that way. But maybe someone. I mean, maybe there's a subset of people that want to play this in pacifist mode. I don't know why you would, and I don't know how you could. But what are your thoughts, Steele?
I mean, the idea of pacifist mode, I mean, again, I know certain people don't like to be violent, and then you have this whole thing with Starfield makes kids violent. They like to shoot people all of a sudden, like they do with GTA and whatnot. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but either way, having the availability, because I know I've seen a lot of things about them talking about non-lethal weapons and other things that you can knock people out with, right? Yeah, maybe you don't have to put a bullet in everybody or a laser in everybody. You could just give them a good old slap on the neck, and they just go to sleep for a little bit. I mean, having that option there, again, as many ways that you can give people, as many different ways as you can get people to role play. I think that that's the other thing that's going to be very unique to this, because again, it's a role playing game, a true role playing game. So you can kind of take that adventure on however you want. Again, I feel like this, just the whole pacifist thing in general, and of course, it's not going to be my thing. Although I'm not necessarily the bad guy or the villains in these games either. For me, it definitely adds an additional option, or at least lets me know that, hey, even I would probably be able to approach some situations in a different manner than maybe being aggressive. And again, I feel like that iterates on what they've constantly mentioned, and that's just giving the player choice, right? Really making the story feel like your own, making the experience special, because that first playthrough is always going to be the one that sticks out to you the most. And as many things that they can do to kind of tailor that experience to many different paths, I think that's going to end up having to be extremely successful. So the option is definitely interesting, and just their approach on it, their thought process is pretty dope.
Yeah, I agree. I like I said, you say first playthrough. I mean, I can't imagine.
Yeah, yeah,
Me personally, like I am not rushing through this game. Like I am
yeah, me
going
neither.
to
Yeah,
absolutely take my time with it because it's it's one of those games, especially if you're, and I'm a Bethesda fan, folks. Like still, like for me, the goat, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's Skyrim. Not for me, it's not. It's Oblivion. It's still one of my is my favorite. If I had if you say listen, boom, you got to take one or the other, it's going to be Oblivion. Oblivion, I put
Mhm.
so many hours, so many days of play into that. I can't even begin to tell you. I loved every second of it. It's just and the thought that they may somehow do like a remake of that,
Mhm.
that's just crazy. So let me see about some of the other questions. One here. Okay, this is a really cool one. They ask folks, what is the history of the mechs? Now, obviously, there's going to be a mech that's going to be a part of your team, and they
Mhm.
say their
That's
answer is the mechs were leftovers from the colony wars. Both sides, United Colonies and Freestar Collective, had mechs,
right.
but the Freestar Collective really mastered them. The United Colonies had mechs too, but they were also they also relied on the controlled alien beasts from the Xeno Warfare Division. Holy shit, that's awesome. Both of those were outlawed by the Armistice that ended the colony war. I'm not saying there's an old mech battleground in the game. Of course there is, because he said it. Of course there is. So you're going to be able to go. Maybe you can get parts. Maybe you can get upgrades by
Maybe.
going to this non-existent mech battlefield or graveyard.
I mean, that
Yes.
already changes a little bit of my playthrough already because it's like,
Indeed.
well, knowing that I'm a mech guy, Freestar. You said Freestar Collective they were the masters. Oh, I'm gonna have to go see. I need to experience that entire storyline, whatever they got over there. Maybe I get a
Dude.
mech at the end. Like that's kind of my
It's
thought
crazy
process
that
with that.
the United Colonies, they also had mechs, but they also relied on the controlled alien beasts from the Xeno
Mm-hmm.
Warfare Division. Like,
Which
what
is
the?
yeah, that's also
Are you
interesting.
kidding
Yep.
me? Here's another one, Steele. We'll get your hot take on this. Okay, so can you be a double agent in the game? For example,
Mm.
if you join the United Colonies, can you also join the Crimson Fleet and give the United Colonies information? And what factions have that feature if they do? And they have two answers, folks. All of the playable factions can be completed independently, which we said thanks to
Which is dope.
Clobril earlier.
Shout out to
And they
McGregor
and
for
they
that.
laugh. They go, "Ha! That's exactly what you can do. Infiltrate the Crimson Fleet for the UC systems defense. And here's the thing. Now we just learned something, Steele. It's specific to that quest line where you are United Colonies, you join the Crimson Fleet, and then
Mm-hmm.
you send in information back to the United Colonies. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an actual thing. They confirm that right here. Uh, Double agent. First of all, there are a ton of classes. Do you have one in mind that you're going to join?
Class wise, I mean, like a specific faction or anything. I don't have
Faction. That's what I
anything.
meant. I meant classes.
Um,
A faction.
no, you're
Yeah.
good. You're good. A specific faction, I don't have any in particular in mind because I'm mostly driven by the aesthetics and wanting to get one of the best looking suits in the game. That's kind of what's more my motivating factor right now. Hey, if it's the snake people that believe that there's a snake god out there and we're all supposed to get eaten by him, but they got the flyest fit. Hey, I guess I'm gonna be a double agent for a little bit. I need to get that gear. But outside of that, I mean, just the idea of being able to, again, it just speaks to the breadth of diversity that you're going to be able to experience in the game and just really tailoring your own playthrough and making the adventure kind of whatever you want, because again, you will at some point have to make a decision on what ideology you support within this world, right? That's the other hard part of this, because I am the type of dude that likes to, when I have situations like that, I need to get everybody's side. Hey, okay, what is everybody feeling about what's going on currently in this universe? Okay, I think I'll rock with Rocky and his boys because they have a good vision and they got mechs. So I think that's the division. I think that's the way I'm gonna go. But being able to make the decision coherently kind of changes your experience already, even early on or whenever you start making certain choices, because maybe one faction you're kind of like iffy on, but you're like, you know what, I'm just getting started and I need to get my name out there, especially if you maybe come in as a bounty hunter. You got
Yes,
people
which is
who
what
don't
I'm
like
going to
you.
do. I'm
Exactly.
stuck. Like I'm stuck because I was originally going Ronin. right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna bring justice and honor to the galaxy. And then I saw, oh shit, oh shit. Now that they have bounty hunter, damn it, what do
Right.
I do? Because you can pick one and you can have some traits in there. I'm still torn because I like the Ronin, but the bounty
Right.
hunter sounds like what I want to do. Like I'm going to be hunting pirates, and I'm going to be kicking ass and taking names, dude.
Yeah, and again, boom, you can imagine that people aren't going to really like you for that, right? And you're putting them in
Yeah.
jail and getting bounties on their heads, and look, boom's getting rich off of my name. Like, what's going on? So you got to have certain factions that have to be able to support that. But what happens if you've been doing this one thing, bounty hunting for this one faction, and then you come to find out that you actually were working for the bad guy that made you feel like they were the good guy. So now you have this whole thing in your own mind that you kind of got to deal with. Like, man, wow, do I need to restart the game now, or how do I approach this? Because this is not what I wanted to happen. Now things have gone super left, but that is your experience with the game, which makes this extremely unique. So, just the thought that, again, it's another thing that adding on to just the spectrum of different things that you'll have available to you in the different directions that you can go, and tailoring that experience, that personal experience truly to you, seems like what they're going for. And again, from everything that we've seen from the updated gunplay mechanics to the option of first and third person, and both of them looking very clean and clear comparatively to each other, especially this time around, because I've been seeing a lot of people wanting to go the third person direction, when typically, the third person isn't the best looking way to play the Bethesda games previously. Whereas this time around, even they have said it, they put a lot of time and effort into that. They wanted people from no matter what perspective that you decide to play from, even in ship battles, it's first and third, right? No matter how you want to experience it, you can truly experience it however you like, have that in and out ability, and kind of just take it whichever way that you like. So man, it adds on to that hype meter a bit. So
Yeah, well, listen, I pulled up the factions. Now, supposedly, and again, I pulled this from PCGames.com or PCGamer.com. And as of today, and again, this is a little bit of an older article. I don't know if it's been updated or if they've let anyone else know, because we don't know a lot about the game. There's 5 factions, folks.
mm-hmm.
There's the Constellation. There's United Colonies, known as the UC. There's the Free Star Collective, which I think is the one I'm going to go with. The Ryujin Industries. They're like the corporation one, and of course the bad guys, if you will, is the Crimson Fleet. I'm sure Crimson is for blood, because they spill it left, right, and center. So those are the 5. Like I said, I don't know. I'm kind of, just based on who they are and what they do. I'm probably going Free Star Collective, to be honest with you. They're considered like the space cowboys, if you will. And I'm gonna be a bounty hunter, so I don't mind being like like I'm not trying to be the Mandalorian, to be honest with you, but I am gonna hunt pirates. It's what I'm going to do. So let's see if I have anything else. Okay, so you know what? Let's talk companions for a second. Because there are 2 questions here that I'm going to merge into one, or at least one answer. They say, when we assign crew members to work at our outposts, do we have to pay them salaries? And it says, no, you simply pay them once. So in other words, you'll say, do you want to join the crew? And you pay them, and it's like a one cover charge. That's it. You pay them, and they're part of your crew, and they just work with you or for you. They go on to say, we actually experimented with paying them regular salaries, but ultimately decided it was to just have the one cost up front, which I think is better anyway, because you don't want the AI asking you for a raise that you can't afford to pay. They go and strike. What do you do? I don't know. But this is where it gets interesting. Will our companions be able to level up their perks, and will those perks stack upon your character's own stats? And there are several answers here, Steele. All crews start with a set of perks at specific ranks. They do not level up, but they come at different ranks depending on which companion you are using.
Mhm.
So it goes on to say, so you might meet a character that's especially good at rifles, and you hire them to watch your back, or you might meet an astrodynamics expert that will increase your grav jump range when assigned to your ship. We and the final answer is, well, we can call them skills in Starfield, and they do stack with yours when relevant.
Mhm.
So, Steel, we just talked about those 20 plus named people or characters that could be a part of your crew. It
Mhm.
appears that who you pick based on who you are as a character is
Mhm.
going to be meaningful. And I think, I mean, the systems that seem to be stacked upon systems, and once again, stacked upon systems, has me really understanding that this game is going to be a different playthrough for everyone. And I think that's where we get into, because I don't watch people play games because I would rather play them. That's more for a
Right,
younger
right.
audience, and I'm an old prick, so everyone knows that. So I don't really watch it, but I can see this game, people like tuning in to watch other people's playthrough because it's so
Mhm.
different from theirs. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, it definitely touches on some of the things we mentioned earlier too, because people are going to be able to pull things from different places, right? And some of the things that people are also experiencing in a game like Remnant, where you also get those different experiences depending on how many times you end up playing through the game. So again have that diversity to add it on to your playthrough gives you a unique experience to the point to where nothing necessarily can be similar to somebody else's. Though, to be fair, there can be some similarities, depending on how wide ranging that is, or how the perks work, but that could also leave room for some issues to be with some bugs, right? Potentially, maybe perks not stacking up right, or other things to that nature. So that could be some things there. People really kind of hone in on it, like, man, I got all these people on, but they're not giving me the perks that I'm looking for. Like you said that they're supposed to stack, they're not stacking, and that can end up being a negative to the experience potentially, or an abuse depending on how well that system works. But again, I mean, overall, you I feel like the main thing, every question that we
Yes.
kind of go through, you're just seeing more and more and more
Yep.
diversity kind of be divvied out to you as the individual, or as people, as just if you're listening in, tuning in. This We're at a point to where you can't say I don't know what this game is anymore, right? Of course, you can say, oh well, I don't have it
Yes.
in hand, or whatever the case, but you can't. If you've played previous Bethesda games, that's why you see the Steam charts as high as they are on
Yeah,
PC.
dude.
People know what Bethesda is capable of. Even the games that people say aren't the greatest. Again, Fallout 4. It's one of the most modded games that are out there. Whether you feel like it needs to be modded to play, that's fine. But it's still one of the most top 5 most modded games that
People are still
that are
making
out there.
mods for that game, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't give you concept, if Skyrim, 10 years later, 15 plus years later, decades later, still showing its roots, and people still making mods for that game and trying to bring it up in visual fidelity and add combat mechanics, because these are all things that have happened within that game, and these very same things are going to be possible in Starfield. So it's like, you talk about the companion mechanic. I can only imagine a year from now to where other people jump in, or maybe you're going to your second or third playthrough, depending on who you are, and you're like, you download this mod that now turns into your companion, to where everybody you can have this intrinsic relationship with. Everybody has a definitive meaning and the experience to your journey, and it's not just limited to the 8 to 10 people, quote unquote, that they've kind of limited it to those far. It's opened up. Oh, now you can get these big Starfleet type ships. Oh, now you can now go to the Death Star as part of you, and that's a mission now. And there's this whole
Oh my goodness.
Starfield set of planets that
Yes.
Star Wars set of planets, excuse me, that you can go to. There's Star Trek type planets, there's Mass Effect planets, there's a Marvel planet, there's all these different things that you can go to, set up with their own missions of variety that I've currently have been seeing throughout the years actually for their style of games. And it just blows my mind at the type of variety that they're already giving you up front. I was telling the guys in the back because we were trying to decide, hey, where do we want to get Starfield at? Xbox, Steam, what's going on, mods, and we just kind of came to the conclusion that look, a lot of the mods that people are going to be looking for aren't going to be out for at least a year because you have to give people at least some time to understand what is truly possible in this game, right? Is Bethesda really and truly breaking out of their mold? And not only when I say that, of course, their game is going to be very similar to their previous games, but at the same time, they're also the one of the very few devs that can actually push that envelope and make you look at it from a different perspective. Okay, you were able to do all these things in these Fallout games. And I know you said that Fallout 4 wasn't the RPG that you were looking for, but how about Starfield, right? Brand new IP,
Yes.
no numbers attached to it.
Yep.
What do you feel about this? Is where Creation Engine 2, we've added all these additional things to it. You can collect sandwiches if you want. Everything that the world is literally accounting for everything that you can imagine, right? This is the first game in a while where I looked at its size, where it was like 120 gigs on console, 130 gigs on
Yeah,
PC,
dude. It's
and say
crazy.
that makes sense. I
Yep.
can see that for this game in comparison to like a Jedi Survivor that's like 100 gigs, and you're like, it's 100 and
Why?
something gigs and it's still choppy, in some sections. It's like, oh, what's going on here, man? So I don't know. Again, just to answer that earlier question, the whole companion side of it is definitely going to add on to that relationship that you kind of have, not only with your ship, but then your crew, and then also the home bases that you kind of create, because I would have to imagine that everybody's going to be connected somehow. So
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, folks, lot of Starfield news happening. The review codes are out, as we talked about at the opening of the show. Some of the more prolific, gaming media people that I follow have them, so I'm very happy about that. I'm not reviewing it. I wanted to, but I still think the channel's still relatively small. And listen, who knows? I can go, close down the show, which we're going to do in about 5 minutes or so, and check my email, and boom, there it is, and I'm playing Starfield. I'd love to review it. It's one of the games that I have such an excitement for, that as a fan of gaming, would love the opportunity to review it. But if I don't, I'll be playing on the 31st like everybody else. Let me catch up on some of the channel member number messages, as well as some of the super chats, and then we'll get everyone out of here. A Sith Lord, who's been a channel member for 16 months, says, "Good day, Boom. You're looking good." That's very kind of you, sir. Thank you. I had to reorganize my games on my 16 terabyte hard drives to make room for Starfield. Can't wait for it. Yeah, I mean it's 120 gigs, folks. So yeah, get ready, make some changes, make some room. Jerome TJ, who was a guest last night on Primetime Gaming, who's been a channel member for over 2 months. Thank you, Jerome TJ. Says, "Hi, Boom, hi, Steel. Starfield is going to be game of the year." Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if it turns out to be as grand as what I think it is, I think that even as fantastic as Baldur's Gate 3 is, and that's, I mean, a lot of people are really enjoying that.
mm-hmm.
I just think that the size and scope and scale of Starfield are going to push it past, BG3, but we'll see. Eternal Shaddai, very generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, "Great show as always." Well, thank you, dude. He says, "The question is, if Starfield is a success, then Avowed is also a success. We will see the front of our eyes be a battle of the Western RPG between Bethesda and Obsidian." Yeah, and I think they would dig that. I'd love to see one going after another. I think Avowed is in its final form is going to be as important, potentially as big as Starfield. It's Obsidian. They're not going to disappoint us, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Rain G4, good friend of the program, drops a $5 super chat and says, "Xbox redeemed themselves for not buying BioWare with Mass Effect. We have Starfield." Indeed. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I look back to some of the misses that Microsoft has made as a corporation, the
Mhm.
BioWare is one of them, especially when you look at the time when they could have bought them. Mass Effect was just monstrous. You're coming off of, Knights of the Old Republic one, because Obsidian did two. Jade Empire, another
Mhm.
phenomenal. So I kind of wonder, and again, we don't know because it's, we can't time travel, so it is what it is. But I kind
Right.
of wonder if the BioWare of old would still be around under Microsoft. See, I don't know. Today's Microsoft, yes. Yesteryear's Xbox and Microsoft, I don't know. That's the ticket, because it's Phil Spencer run um uh Xbox is much different than a Donnie D. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if BioWare suffers the same fate as they've suffered through
Mhm.
EA. I don't know. It's an interesting thought though. Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member for
Tim.
13 plus months. Tim, thank you so much, brother, for the generosity. He says, congrats, Living Split Screen on 1K. And thanks, Boom in chat, for making it happen. Have a great weekend. Starfield incoming. Brother, thank you for the comment. And listen, it's my honor. Like I said, I want to see other people succeed. And if I can help, then I've done my job as a community member. That's what we're supposed to do. Not everyone feels that way, but that's who I am as a whole. Drawn TJ drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, just wait for the mods in Starfield. Yeah, I am very much looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. But Steel Rain, let's get everyone out of here. Hopefully, folks, you enjoyed the Starfield focused podcast. Of course, a big shout out to Steel Rain and Pong Soul for finally getting the 1K. Shout out to this amazing 600 plus people that tuned in for this show that helped get them past the finish line. I am
Really appreciate
incredibly
it.
grateful for that, because like I said, I'll never ask for myself, but I will ask for others. Steel Rain, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone that has now just subscribed where they can find you and Pong Soul each and every Saturday morning on Living Split Screen, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll start off with the reach out. The easiest way is going to be I Steel Rain I. The T is a 7 everywhere. That's Steel Rain. If it's Google's the easiest place for you to type it in, definitely do that. You'll find all my information there. Whether that's the YouTube channel, my personal YouTube, even though I don't use it, or my Twitter or AK X information if you need that. Definitely hit me up in the DMs. I'm not one of those people that like to hide from people and never answer them. I think that's weird. The same thing if you're on Xbox or in the Xbox ecosystem, because it's so intrinsically easy to go between the console and the PC. So hit me up. I'm more than welcome to go back and forth to chop it up about gaming. But I gotta definitely shout out one Boom. But and I'm going to do some extra on that. But every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time, I do have a non-console centric platform known as Living Split Screen, where it's the home of that RTS approach. Real-time strategy. We pull ourselves out of the world, look at the darker crevices of the map. We pull those resources together so we can build up that foundation for those 3 billion gamers that Phil Spencer always mentions, and that we just need to grow the community too. So if possible. But Boom, first off, I definitely want to say again, I've mentioned this plenty of times on your show, and I absolutely mean it from the bottom of my heart. You are definitely one of the pillars of our community, no matter how deep I get into
Thank
this
you.
podcasting game. You're definitely one of the people that I consistently still listen to, just
Thank you,
because not
sir.
only because of your knowledge, just because of, but also because of the support that you give the community. You are, again, when I say a pillar, I don't mean, oh, you're just shouting people. No, I mean like the
Thank
kindness
you,
that's in
sir.
your heart, the way that you approach, doing your shows. I mean, again, you're one of the hardest working people that we have, and
Thank you.
everybody
Thank
that's in chat right now, the same way that Boom helped us get over 1K. I want y'all to get down right underneath this video and hit that like button for
Thank you,
Boom,
sir. Yes, likes
please.
help. Likes
The
help. I'm
like
telling
button
you.
helps get us as content creators more in the algorithm, gets more involved, and Boom's one of those shows where he at least deserves 5K every time that he goes live. So I want to say thank you, Boom, again. And I want to thank you to the chat, because again, if it wasn't for y'all, like my brother from another Pong says, we would just be dudes in a party chat, chopping it up, having a good time regardless. Y'all add to the experience. So much love and greatly appreciate you guys.
Well, listen, again, a big thank you to this community. Obviously, you answered the call, and I am unbelievably grateful for it. This is, like I said, I would never ask for myself, and I would never ask you to listen to someone that I personally don't listen to myself, because that would be selfish and dumb, to be honest with you. And listen, the whole point of community, right, is to help everyone, stand up, and help everyone grow. And like I've seen people fight back on it, like, oh, I don't want to help out because it's going to hurt my numbers. I'm not worried about that. Listen,
Yeah,
we did
no,
it the
it's
mom
all
and
reason
pop
you're
way.
here.
We're at 13K. We're heading to 14K. It's not like we tripped over 13K. I know I work hard. I don't have to be told that. I do this for you folks because I love you as a community, but I actually really love doing this stuff. Like the fact that there's an audience that likes listening to me, it's still surreal to me. You got to understand that this is I do this every day because I love gaming. I could talk about gaming every day of the week, which I do, and I work on this show 7 days a week. You don't see it, but I work on this show 7 days a week, and I never get bored. I'm always excited to come in front of this microphone, hang out with you folks, and put on a damn good show, which at least I hope it's a damn good show. But look, at the end of the day, we're here for each other. We're here to rise each other up. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what the whole point of community is. It's what I did as a cop. I'm now have transitioned that into being somewhat of a media personnel, a persona, which I don't really think I am. I'm just a guy with a microphone who likes talking about games, and I'm very grateful for the support. Again, folks, if you're finding the channel for the first time and you enjoyed today's show, we're on the hunt for 14K. Please consider subscribing. And of course, before you get out of here, like Steel Rain said, hit that like button because it does help us navigate the algorithms of YouTube, which is very difficult, especially when you have a small show like this. And of course, a big thank you to all of the member chats, as well as the super chats that allow us to do the big giveaways. And we do have 4 huge monster giveaways coming starting in September, ending in December, all to equate nearly $3,500 worth of prizes. And we do that because you guys and gals support the channel. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say it's very simple. Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.